Hey guys, it's Jim, welcome back, and this is another requested review, and this is for Michael, and it is for Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Yes, Star Wars Episode 1, that film that looms over the Star Wars franchise, that is one of the most hated films of all time, caused the beginning of the end for Star Wars, and you know what? I quite like the film. I always have not really understood all the hate for Star Wars Episode 1. And I actually feel like it is a film that's, in recent years, got a lot of people looking back on it more fondly, certainly my friends, you know, it's not amazing, it's not what it should have been, but you know what, it's pretty darn entertaining, it's pretty fun, it's pretty good. Star Wars Episode 1 was always going to disappoint, there was no way around it, because obviously you just had this awe-inspiring series that changed cinema. If you're going to be that ambitious and go, right, we're doing the prequels, and you're going to wait such a long time before releasing the prequels, the Star Wars fans, what they're like is they would have gone into that expecting the greatest movie of all time. They would have. You know, they would have expected the greatest movie of all time. And it was always going to disappoint. There's no way around that. Like, there's no way this could have been the greatest movie of all time. You know, George Lucas at the helm, I believe he's not capable of achieving the heights of the original trilogy. You know, the original trilogy, you had Irving Kershner, you had other people involved. It wasn't just George Lucas. Here, it was like George Lucas took it all on his head. You know, there's even a documentary about the making of Phantom Menace, which is fascinating, where it's basically George Lucas is completely at the helm this time. And, you know, it turned out not what fans expected or wanted. But I think on retrospect, I really like the film. I really, really do. I just think that expecting it to be the greatest movie of all time just wasn't realistic, and with George Lucas at the helm, you've got to expect a certain type of Star Wars.
It's a little disjointed.
Seems like a lot of short scenes.
It's bold in terms of jerking people around, but I may have gone too far in a few places.
I think the immediate thing which I love about Star Wars Episode 1 is Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon. I absolutely love Qui-Gon. I think he is a character. You know, this film, one of the problems with this film is the characters are not Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Lando Calrissian. They're not in the same league as that. You know, and that's a shame. Like, even Obi-Wan in this, in my opinion, isn't as good as the Obi-Wan from the original trilogy. I feel like Ewan McGregor is good, but he's a little bland. And you just like seeing Ewan McGregor. Like, I like him, but I find Alec Guinness more memorable. So even with Ewan McGregor, like, the characters don't really stand up, and that's a problem. But I feel like Qui-Gon is one of the characters in this who comes closest to standing up to the characters of the original trilogy. You don't expect him to be in it, because obviously all you ever heard is that Obi-Wan was trained by Yoda. And then you get to Star Wars Episode 1, Yoda's not anywhere, he's sitting there playing drafts with Mace Windu. Obi-Wan is trained by Qui-Gon. I just think Liam Neeson's kind of reserved, calculated, but pleasant vibe as Qui-Gon is really, really great. I just find Qui-Gon really likeable. I think he commands respect. I think you believe him as a Jedi. You completely believe Liam Neeson, his character, and Qui-Gon essentially is the heart of the film. Like, it's his whole ambitions that lead the film through. Obviously, when he meets Anakin, it's his investment in Anakin. Now, he's in the background throughout this film, overlooking everything.
You're a Jedi Knight, aren't you?
What makes you think that?
I saw your laser sword. Only Jedis carry that kind of weapon.
Perhaps I killed a Jedi and took it from him.
I don't think so. No one can kill a Jedi.
I wish that was so.
He's one of the best Jedis in the Star Wars franchise, which is quite impressive considering you compare him to Luke and, you know, all these Jedis. I think he's head and shoulders above the characters in the new trilogy. It's a shame about Ewan McGregor because he's not that great. He kind of looks a bit lost as Obi-Wan in this.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I still like him. I still think he does well. But he looks a bit lost, and he's not much presence. I feel like his performance is probably better in Episode 2, one of the only good things about Episode 2, and Episode 3. I think his performance gets better. I do like Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. I am looking forward to the Obi-Wan show, but here I did really notice that he looked confused. And I think a lot of people were confused on the set of Episode 1 because they didn't know how it was going to go. Like, George Lucas kept everyone on tenterhooks because he was just pissing around in his own little world, bathing in money, going, this is what it's going to be, guys. We haven't made it clear, George. Well, you know, you'll find out on the day. Like, it just felt like a lot like that with episode 1. You really see it's George Lucas, and that's why things aren't as memorable, because the characters just don't resonate as well. The actors aren't there, the writing isn't there, and George Lucas, left by himself, he just doesn't really, he can't really write characters, he can't write dialogue, and it just feels awkward and stilted, and I feel like Ewan McGregor could have done a lot better if he had a better writer. Natalie Portman would go in the same category as Ewan McGregor as Padmé. She's nothing. She's a blank slate. She's so unmemorable. I don't know what George was doing, but he couldn't get great performances out of good actors such as Natalie Portman and Ewan McGregor. Like, they're okay, they're there, but they're just there. Get ready for the most controversial take in this whole video. I don't hate Jar Jar Binks.
What the hell are you talking about?
Now, I understand he is annoying. Yes, he is annoying. But you're like, I don't feel like he's that annoying that this world-altering, like the way he took over the world and everyone with a pulse hated him. Every Star Wars fan live hated him. I think he's fine. I think I just leave him to do his stuff. He's written in there for the kids. I don't have a problem really that much. Like, I don't understand how he's that frustrating for people. Like, I actually find Jar Jar quite endearing and quite charming in certain moments because he's so, you know, pathetic and incapable, but he's like an underdog, you know, and he gets that Star Wars underdog charm, I feel like. Like, he's capable of nothing, but he goes on the battlefield and he can still defeat enemies through his luck and through being a good person and things like that. And he does do a few too many annoying things in this, but I do feel like his heart's in the right place. I feel like Jar Jar means well, and I don't get why the pure hatred for him came out. One thing people don't talk about is that in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, the characters even make a point of saying C-3PO is annoying. Han Solo gets driven around the bend by C-3PO. All the characters get driven by the bend by C-3PO, and that's just forgotten by fans. They don't, just because they like 3PO in general, he's allowed to be as annoying as he wants. Like, but it doesn't apply to Jar Jar Binks. I don't know. I just found him harmless. I genuinely find him harmless. Like, there's a few moments I go, right, I'll cut that out. Come on, Jar Jar, mate. Stop being an annoying git. But overall, I don't have that big of a problem. I don't see why it dominates people's view of the film. I don't see why. For me, he's just fine. Like, just get on with it. Another performance that got absolutely demolished in Star Wars Episode 1 is Jake Lloyd as Anakin Skywalker. Again, I don't understand why, and I don't know why it took on this venomous, world-altering hatred, where people decided a kid gave a mediocre performance, so we're going to ruin his life. The Star Wars fanbase is incredibly toxic. It's incredibly toxic, and I don't understand the mindset of tormenting a child because he gave a bad performance in a film, and I don't even think he's that bad. Why would you do that? Like, I don't know how much of this is true, but I know that Jake Lloyd had real trouble with Star Wars fans and he ended up in a mental institution. I don't know if it's solely from that, but he got unbelievable hate and everyone said he's the reason the film's bad, he's the reason Star Wars has gone downhill, and he's not at all. He was a child. How dare you do that to a child? Like, I'm dead serious here. Jake Lloyd did not deserve. He was a boy taking a role. I don't understand. George Lucas almost seems to walk away free with Star Wars fans. He's the man who deserves the hatred for not working with Jake Lloyd or not getting a better actor than Jake Lloyd. It's not the child himself. I think Star Wars fans should be ashamed of themselves for that whole thing. Here I kind of like the fact that you never would fathom this kid would be Darth Vader. It should be a gigantic fall from grace. I just, you know, so we were setting up Anakin in the right way here. Innocent and likeable. I actually feel like the way Anakin is written here, he's a very kind kid. Like, he sacrifices his time and his energy and his life almost for Qui-Gon and Padmé and this and that. In the pod racing scene, he does things for people that he's not going to get any direct reward for. He cares about people. He's a creative kid. You know, he builds C-3PO and he has built a pod race. He cares about his mum. Like, I just don't understand again. I genuinely feel like those Star Wars fans today, I feel like they've changed their tune. I don't feel like there's a Star Wars fan that exists that says, Jake Lloyd, I hate Jake Lloyd. I don't think they exist anymore. But back at their time, they did. And it's a shame. This kid isn't that bad. And I feel like he also captures the underdog magic of Star Wars. He's completely an underdog in this. He's a slave who's got no hope whatsoever in life, but he holds on to positivity, holds on to his creativity, to hope, and he gets rewarded. And there's never a point where this kid is annoying. Like, there's way more annoying characters in other films that are kids. Way more annoying. There's nothing selfish about the kids. Could it have been a better actor? Probably yes, but so what? Darth Maul is also in this film, and he is one of the coolest characters in all of Star Wars. I love the way Darth Maul is delivered in Episode 1. So mysterious, so looming. He just looks like the baddest man in the galaxy. He looks so imposing and horrifying and memorable. You will never forget Darth Maul. And it's such a shame that George Lucas, in his infinite wisdom, killed him off. What they should have done in Episode 2 is have Anakin fight Darth Maul and defeat him. I have no idea why George Lucas didn't do this. That would have been great. It would have given Anakin a huge win that we can get behind in Episode 2. Would have built up the kind of menace of Darth Maul for a massive confrontation. And it just would have worked with the whole storyline they were trying to do with Anakin. But George Lucas was just like, yeah, just kill him. Fuck him off, kill him.
So you can get bopped on the head real quick.
Are you mad, George? When you're struggling to find characters that stand up to the original trilogy, you just like kill the most... You know, no one will ever approach Darth Vader. Darth Maul came close, and you're going to kill him. What was wrong with it? What were you smoking, George? There are a couple of set pieces in this film which stand up to the original trilogy and are two of the most memorable set pieces in all of Star Wars, and that's the pod race and the lightsaber fight at the end. But the pod race for me is ingrained in my mind because obviously we got the brilliant video game Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer on N64 and Dreamcast. The pod racing was unlike anything we'd ever seen on film before. It was revolutionary, it was creative, it was unique, it was exciting, it was Star Wars doing what Star Wars does best, giving us a look into another world, crazier things than we see happen on Earth, like things that are beyond things we could ever imagine, like just pure fantasy and pure wonderful escapism. That's what the pod race is. Very, very well shot by George Lucas, very exciting and high octane. I just feel like the pod race scene needs to be respected more because it's one of the most unique and special scenes in the entire franchise. That lightsaber fight is just a dream for Star Wars fans. I still to this day, like that score in this film, the score is glorious. You know, it's George Lucas did well to match the score of the original trilogy. It's another thing that matches the quality of the original trilogy. That score is monumental. And it plays throughout this lightsaber fight, which is just wonderful. You know, I love the gradual progression of the fight. I love when they get stuck behind those energy beams and they have to just stare into the eyes of this evil monster, Darth Maul, and it builds up the tension and suspense. I love when Obi-Wan has to allow Qui-Gon to fight Darth Maul by himself while he's stuck behind them. I just love the whole glorious spectacle of it. I think George Lucas shoots it incredibly well. It was a real showing of what lightsaber fights could become going forward. It was just far more epic and far more majestic. It is really a film which I enjoy watching. I really do. And every time I watch it, I get swept up in that Star Wars feeling again, which is something I don't get with Episode 2. Like, I genuinely do not like Episode 2 to this day. I like Episode 3. For me, this is the one that kind of feels like Star Wars. This is one of the prequel trilogy that's probably my favourite. You know, I like Episode 3, but this one just... There's such whimsicalness to this. There's a cheerfulness. There's a pleasant feeling throughout. It really does feel like a children's film. And I guess a lot of Star Wars fans didn't want a children's film. But you have to remember that the Star Wars original trilogy audience was pretty much children. I know you could say that doesn't mean you have to have stuff like Jar Jar and stuff that's kidified, but I just feel like it's entertaining for me. It's a pleasant watch. It's a nice, positive film, episode 1. I feel like the sets, the colours, the costumes, everything is striking and bold. George Lucas, you can't fault him there. He really recreated that Star Wars world. He used CGI fairly well. Jar Jar doesn't look terrible. The pod racing looks amazing. That's some great CGI. I was expecting to watch this and the CGI to not stand up at all. I think it quite well stands up, so that's quite impressive. So what it was revolutionary, the visual style George Lucas was bringing here. You have to say that. Episode 2 is where it went off the rails, man. Episode 2 is a load of old arse.
It's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's jealous. He's holding me back.
I mean, I know that people love episode 2. Maybe I'll go back and watch it. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that requested review. Thanks for the request, Michael. Thanks for watching, everyone, as always. Let me know what you think of episode 1 in the comments below. I'm very interested because it's obviously one of those films which everyone's got an opinion on. So let me know what you think of episode 1 in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel if you're a movie geek just like me. Click on another video on the screen now. And I will see you guys next time.